You're watching WALA Fox 10.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Grippin. As the Centers is taking a little break as we do our tag team anchoring through Hurricane Danny here as we try to keep you up to date throughout the day and now throughout the evening as the hurricane edges ever closer to the Alabama and Florida Gulf Coast. Renee Dials is here with me right now, and you were at the shelter at Mary G. Montgomery High School in Sims today. How are they doing?
That's right. Well, folks are starting to trickle into the shelters now, and that was the case at Mary G. Montgomery High School. The problem is that this storm is moving so slowly that people just don't know whether or not they should go to the shelter. They're trying to make up their minds, and so the shelters are not really filling up that quickly. We have some video of some of the people who were at Mary G. Montgomery this afternoon. They started showing up around 4 o'clock, and they had less than 100 people at the shelter, and you see folks there with all of their resting, and the kids are playing and they're enjoying their snacks and just trying to wait out the storm to see what happens. Basically, officials say they believe that people are just going to have to wait and see what the storm does before they rush into the shelters, and that was the situation there. But we talked with some of the people who were there.
Inside, and that's why we come to here.
Okay, because you have a lot of trees.
Yeah,
right
inside,
now. Okay.
yeah.
What are you going to do to keep yourself occupied tonight?
Well, just play cards and, have a conversation.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell until we figure out where this thing's going, but I hope they take precautions. If they need to, come on in, because we'll do something with them.
Good.
Now, that was Elaine Dearman. She is the chairman or the manager at the shelter there at Mary G. Montgomery. And that's the idea. If people need to take precautions, if they want to take precautions, they should go to one of the shelters. There are more than a dozen of them scattered around in Mobile and Baldwin counties. And one of the things that the Red Cross wants us to remind folks is to please take the things that you're going to need. You're going to need bedding items. You're going to need food and snacks. They have some food items there, but you're going to need other things. You're going to need your medication, and just remember to take those things to you. Now, we have a list of the shelters that are in our area. They're at Baker High School, Theodore High, Satsuma High School, LaFleur, Montgomery, Blunt High School, and then over in Baldwin County, there's one at Daphne Middle School, Robertsdale High School, Foley High School, Fairhope High School, Alberta Middle School, and Baldwin High School. And then there's our shelters in other counties, Choctaw County, Clark County, and Washington County. You see the telephone numbers there. The idea is not to wait until the weather gets real bad. You see, the storm now, it seems to be edging to the east, but we all know, living here on the Gulf for a long time, that it can change very quickly. And, late at night, you don't want to be trying to rush and get to a shelter, so pack up your things that you need and head there. Right now, they have the total of all the shelters, they have fewer than 500 people at the shelters. The one that we were at, Mary G. Montgomery, has the capacity to handle 1,500 people. The Baker High School, more than 1,500. That's actually the largest one in our area. And they have all of the things that people will need to weather out this storm. Nurses on hand, emergency officials on hand. They do have food supplies. But, they have the things that people need. You just have to go and take advantage of them.
Sure. And pretty much they're putting people up in the gyms, I take it.
Yes. At one school we went to, they were kind of lining them around the hallways. People were setting up their bedding in the hallway areas.
So if you want to feel safe and you don't feel safe at home, go to the shelter.
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, Renee.
You're welcome.
Well, Carolyn Day has been keeping an eye on things for us on the eastern shore of the bay, and she joins us once again from Point Clear. Carolyn, the night has fallen. What are the conditions like now?
Well, you guys were giving me a hard time out here a little earlier, saying that I wasn't seeing much rain. Obviously, you can see we are really seeing a lot of rain out here. Things are starting to pick up, really gusty winds. The bay right behind me is really starting to sweep. I took a walk along some of these homes not too long ago. It doesn't seem to be like too many boards up. Not a lot of concern, I guess. This is a small storm, but we are seeing a lot of it right now. Here at the Grand Hotel, a lot of families out here and a big wedding party out here. It's not really putting a damper on the mood. Although a lot of people were out here a little earlier walking around, it seemed like they were curious. They just wanted to come out and see what was going on. But everyone has kind of run for shelter. Now, of course, this isn't a big hurricane right now, but any kind of hurricane is not going to be good for tourism. I have with me now David Monroe with the Grand Bay Hotel. How is this hurricane affecting your business here?
Well, we had a scheduled sellout for about 5 nights, and tonight and tomorrow night seem a little tough to make it happen right now, but we've maintained, we're about 70-80% occupied. We still have a wedding going on, as you said, and we have a family reunion that's excited still to be here, and the Alabama plumbing contractors are having a great dinner and a great meeting with us, and a few more groups are here as well, anticipating their meetings for next week also.
Now, what kind of precautions are you taking to ensure the safety of everyone here?
Well, we are in constant contact with the Baldwin County Emergency Operations Center, and we've also taken our own precautions. We've installed a $20,000 system to put shutters and protection around the resort in both the dining room and around the Birdcage Lounge. And people are still enjoying dinner to music, dancing in the Birdcage Lounge right now.
All right, thank you for that, David. And I don't know, guys, I might get out of this rain and go do a little dancing myself. But like I said, things are really picking up around here, and we're going to go out and see what we can find.
Okay, are you getting a combination of just rain or rain and wind or what?
Actually, right now, Bob, we're not getting too much wind at all. We've got a 200-year oak tree right behind me. You probably can't see it. It's getting awfully dark out here. But a little earlier, some gusty winds were really sweeping this tree around. But right now, things are pretty calm. The rain just is really pelting down. So as far as the wind goes, not much. But the rain, it's coming down hard right now.
Okay, thank you. Carol and Dave reporting live from Point Clear. Let's go a little farther south now to Weeks Bay, and we have Johnny Fuller on the telephone. Johnny, how is it down there?
Well, Bob, right now it kind of slacked off for a second. We had it rain coming down by the bucketfuls and a bunch of wind, and all of a sudden now it's kind of nothing. No more rain. The rain just now quit. That was real weird. It didn't last for about 5 minutes.
You know, have you had any periods of really severe weather, a lot of rain, a lot of wind?
This is the third time. It just comes in and then it leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sun, actually one time the sun come out right between the rain. It was weird.
Are you right on the bay?
We are right on the water, on Canal Circle.
Okay, have you experienced any flooding at all because of this?
Well, my yard has about a foot of water in it, but it has nothing to do with getting in the house or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of rainwater right now.
Okay, but it's higher water than you'd normally have.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We got a little higher water than we normally have.
Okay, do you think you might head to a shelter, or you feel pretty comfortable at home?
I think we're going to be okay. We're just watching y'all. That's going to kind of let us know what we're going to do.
All right, all right. We'll try to live up to that.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
Johnny Fuller reporting from Weeks Bay, telling us that he's got about a foot of water in his yard because of the storm. Well, John Ed Thompson has been keeping an eye on the storm all day long. He knows where it is right now. Maybe he also knows where it's headed. John Ed?
Well, my best bet was over Dauphin Island, but from the National Hurricane Center, as we noted, it was moving a little further to the east. Last time we checked, it did not move any closer to shore. It just kind of edged its way a little bit to the east, and they think that that's going to be a trend. In other words, they think that's what's going to happen over the next several hours, and that means that could push back the timetable as far as when it would make landfall. Let's go ahead and look at the radar picture, and you can see that the rain continues to fall all the way from well east of Pensacola, right across Mobile and Baldwin counties, and right on through Jackson County. But off to the west of Biloxi, things have been calming down out there from Gulfport to Bay St. Louis to Slidell and on toward New Orleans. If you look straight south of Mobile, that's where the eye of the storm is. It's south of Mobile, down into the Gulf waters. Now, this picture was taken, say, about 20 minutes ago. Let's go ahead and move forward to a brand new picture taken just a few minutes ago, and you can see kind of basically part of the eye right there, part of it right there in the lower part of your screen. You've got wind around the Pensacola and Gulf Shores area coming up from the southeast and then pushing right around and wrapping back through Mobile Bay and then diving itself down toward the boot of Louisiana. So you've got the center right here, and if we're saying it's south of Mobile now, if it continues on that trend of moving a little bit to the east, we could say it was south of Mobile Bay the next time we talk about it. Now, we're not saying that's what's going to happen for sure, but it definitely has been making an east-northeasterly track, and it's been going more east than north over the last couple of hours, and that's the way the radar shows it right now, with some embedded very heavy thunderstorms. And in those embedded cells, we could get the possibility of a tornado, so we're all under a tornado watch. In other words, conditions are favorable. This is what happened throughout the afternoon as the storm came off of Louisiana and pushed right on south of the Mississippi area, the coastline there, and continued tracking itself on towards southwest Alabama. But with the storm making that little wobble a little bit to the east now, as it wobbles to the east now, things could change drastically for some parts of the panhandle of Florida. Let's go ahead and show you the latest coordinates. First, we'll talk about where the warnings are in effect right now. From Grand Isle, they used to say from Grand Isle including New Orleans. Now they're saying from Grand Isle excluding New Orleans over to Destin, Florida, and that warning may be extended tonight on further east of Destin in the panhandle of Florida. That's a hurricane warning in effect, and we're going to take that red line, it looks like, and push it a little further off to the east. A flash flood watch in effect, and as we mentioned, a tornado watch also in effect. I'll back out and show you exactly what we have as far as the central location of that storm. Hurricane Danny is located about 40 miles to the south of Mobile, Alabama. It's moving off to the east-northeast at 6 miles per hour. The location, if you want to put it on your tracking chart, 29.9 north, 88.3 degrees west, and the winds are still at 75 miles per hour, and those winds are gusting even stronger at times. We've had wind gusts of probably 85 and 90 miles per hour, but the sustained winds right there at the center are at 75 miles per hour, and that basically shows you why you're getting the winds from the southeast here. Over here, you're getting the winds out of the northeast. So you've got a southeasterly flow, a northeasterly flow, and then it sweeps back around to the south and then sweeps back up onshore. So it's got a counterclockwise motion. We're talking about Hurricane Danny, still a threat to the southwest parts of Alabama and the northwestern part of Florida, not making landfall right now and moving a little bit of a wobble off to the east right now. It has moved to 88.3 degrees west. It was at 88.8. That's the latest on Hurricane Danny. Bob, what do you have?
All right, we're going to take a break right now and be back with more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny after this.
Fox 10 Action News at 10 p.m. You've turned to the best news coverage in town. Fox 10 Action News at 10 p.m. updates you on the evening's events and shows you what's going on right now. Live news coverage as only Fox 10 Action News can do it. It's what we do. It's what you expect. It's what you deserve. Fox 10 Action News, the best at 10 p.m.
One by one, they're disappearing from our streets, no longer a threat. I'm John Walsh of America's Most Wanted.
And I'm Bob Grip of Fox 10 Action News. Each week, John and I work with authorities to profile some of the most wanted individuals.
With your help, we're putting them where they belong.
Together, we're making our communities safe again.
And with your support, we'll continue winning the war.
Don't miss FBI Files, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Fox 10 Action News. And America's Most Wanted, America Fights Back, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on WALA Fox 10.
Hi, I'm Alice Gordon-Wright, the host of New Visions. Domestic violence is an issue that is dividing families and killing women, but there is help. Join me this Sunday as we talk about Baldwin County's home for battered women called the Lighthouse. And you may be wondering what he's doing now that he's turned his badge in, but this former police chief has a new weapon, a microphone. We'll talk to Harold Johnson this week. So join me this Sunday morning right here on WALA Fox 10 for New Visions.
They are as different as they are alike.
You can't save the world.
Someone has to take responsibility.
People just like us.
You bet.
Living adventure.
We almost lost everything.
And romance.
I will love you all my days.
Their incredible story unfolds all week long on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Dr. My.
Make it a practice to watch.
Weekdays at 11 on WALA Fox 10.
There you can see Hurricane Danny about 40 miles south of Mobile. That would put it about 10 miles south of Dauphin Island. And speaking of Dauphin Island, that's where our James Gordon is and will be for the rest of the night since the Dauphin Island Bridge has been closed. James, how are you doing tonight?
Well, this might seem kind of odd because we're broadcasting live from inside our live truck. We're parked right next to the Dauphin Island Sea Lab, and right outside Fort Gaines at the eastern end of the island. The reason we're doing this is because over the day we've been broadcasting outside, and the rain has pelted our camera so badly that parts of our camera weren't working, so we had to dry it out. and we're in the process of drying those parts out. But we wanted to bring you the latest as much as we could, even if we had to do it from inside our live truck. Again, just to reiterate, this island has been evacuated completely. Earlier in the day, it was always a voluntary evacuation, and it still is voluntary. However, the bridge was closed at 7 p.m., so nobody can get, off the island or on the island. So anybody who stayed is here to stay, including myself and photographer Barry Bain. We will weather the storm through the evening, and we do have one very nice lady who's going to let us spend the night in her apartment. She and her family have boarded up the apartment, so we believe that at least our stay will be pretty safe.
Now, James, is it windy? Very windy?
We can hear the wind howling outside, and the rain is also very heavy. Of course, it's very hard to tell as far as seeing it because it's become very, very dark. And again, I need to mention all of the power on this island is out, and that's another reason why we have to broadcast them inside the truck. There are no lights, there is no electricity on the island, so folks here are pretty much weathering the storm.
Now, was that done as a precautionary measure just to keep everything safe, or did something snap?
They really didn't explain to us exactly what had happened. The information that I got came from Police Chief Beasley, and he just told me that the power was out. He didn't really go into detail on how they lost that power, but it's my understanding that it might have been, more than likely, it was probably a power outage because it was kind of sudden, the power outage.
Do you have any idea how many people actually stayed on the island?
Well, he mentioned that a lot of the folks who live in the wooded areas, on the inland area, if you can say that about this island, those are the folks that stayed. Anybody who lived in homes or apartments, especially on the west end of the island, those were the folks who left because those folks have gone through this before, several hurricanes, and their homes many times are damaged. And even though they're built on stilts, there's a lot of flooding on the streets surrounding the homes. So tomorrow morning when we wake up, I pretty much expect to see the west end of the island pretty much flooded.
All right, thank you. James Gordon reporting live from Dauphin Island. Once again, we'll check in with you later. Thank you, James. Let's talk now to Bill Goodloe from Bon Secours Bay. And Bill, I understand that you've been out in the bay today checking crab traps. Is that right?
Yeah, Bob. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I was out there getting some... Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Bill.
I was out there getting some crab traps up, and it got real windy, and I had to come to shore real quick. I thought I saw a water spout, and I just got to shore as quick as I could.
About what time were you out checking those crab traps, Bill?
Well, I guess it was about 7:45. And we were just trying to get them out of the water as quick as we could and get on in the shore. It was windy. Bob, I think it's going to be a pretty good storm. I hope it misses us to the south, but we'll just have to wait and see.
How does this compare to other storms that you've seen, Bill?
Well, Bob, I've been through many storms over here. There aren't many storms that scare Bill Goodloe, but it's going to be decent. It's nothing to get alarmed about. Just take the necessary precautions and do what you can.
Okay, so you feel pretty safe from where you are right now, I guess.
Yes, sir, Bob. I think from what John Ed's told me that it is going to miss us to the south, and it's just going to be like a good summertime thunderstorm.
All right. I hope you're right. I hope John Ed's right, too.
Well, I trust John Ed.
That we do, too.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
All right, thank you. Bill Goodloe from Bon Secours Bay. Let's take a look at some other information we want to share with you. If you want to be like Bill and give us a call, we'll talk to you on the air. If you're in an area where you've seen some of the evidence of the hurricane, give us a call. 434-1097 is the number to call, especially if you're in the southern part of Baldwin County or southern part of Mobile County. Let's check in now with Carol Hunter, who's out on Government Street. Every time we go out there, the weather seems to be getting worse and worse. Carol, what's it like now?
Bob, it hasn't changed much since the last time we were out here. It's still raining. The wind is mildly gusty. We're probably seeing maybe 15-mile-an-hour gusts, nothing worse than that. And one of the things James was mentioning, some of the power outages there at Dauphin Island, we had gotten calls from some of the homeowners who say power routinely is cut there just so that when storms come through, there are no electrical fires and that sort of thing. I've been talking to some of our viewers on the phone out in West Mobile who say that power is flickering a little bit. We've gotten no reports of any widespread power outages in the city, but it's not unusual, I think, when the wind picks up like this to expect some flickering of lights. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse than that. Interestingly, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to talk to some of the folks who are in the northern part of in the Satsuma, Saraland area, even Bay Minette. We had callers tell us that right before the sun set, of course it's been dark here all day, we didn't really notice that time, but the sun was out. I mean, we had reports of double rainbows and people calling just amazed at the weather phenomena right now. Here we are in the midst of a hurricane warning. The sun is out, rainbows, and you know, they don't know how to interpret that. I don't either, obviously, except that we've seen a little bit of that here downtown as some of the feeder bands come in and then they dissipate and it does clear up a little bit. But it has been like this for the better part of 2 or 3 hours now. Folks from Coden, I talked to 2 or 3 people just a few minutes ago who said it has calmed down there significantly. Winds have died down. The rain has pretty much stopped. Even the fireflies are out. So maybe if our insect friends know that it's safe, maybe the worst has passed for them, and this storm will continue to skirt the coast and head east. Bob?
All right, thank you very much, Carol. It sounds like the rain is coming down a little bit harder. Is that true?
It does. It is a case where it sort of comes in waves as it has. We'll be standing here, and it will look like it's fairly dry, and then all of a sudden we get drenched. George Criminale has been out here on the street with me most of the day. Both he and the camera have managed to survive so far, and we'll be able to hopefully be able to come out here throughout the evening and give you the pictures from the street as some of our other gear gets locked in one spot or another. Hopefully we'll still be able to give you some pictures from outside.
Okay, thanks. Carol Hunter reporting live from Government Street. And we'll be right back after this.
The scariest night of the week is Fox Sunday night.
Look at your control panel.
From nuclear meltdowns
That got it.
to invisible assassins.
Pick him up, Mulder. He's right in front of you. I can't see him.
And dangerous dummies bent on revenge.
Abracadabra!
You'll be up to your eyeballs in trouble.
No!
Starting with Goosebumps, Night of the Living Dummy.
Gotcha!
Sunday night on WALA Fox 10.
One by one, they're disappearing from our streets, no longer a threat. I'm John Walsh of America's Most Wanted.
And I'm Bob Grip of Fox 10 Action News. Each week, John and I work with authorities to profile some of the most wanted individuals.
With your help, we're putting them where they belong.
Together, we're making our communities safe again.
And with your support, we'll continue winning the war.
Don't miss FBI Files, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Fox 10 Action News. And America's Most Wanted, America Fights Back, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on WALA Fox 10.
In the battle of the morning shows, Fox After Breakfast has a secret weapon, the Road Warriors. Whether they're learning the ropes with a rancher family in Oklahoma, checking into an underwater hotel beneath Key Largo, or strolling with a man who sports a beard of live honeybees in Connecticut, the Fox After Breakfast Road Warriors are going to get your morning off to a flying start.
Oh, wow.
So watch out, America. They may be coming to your town next.
We'll see you there.
Weekdays on WALA Fox 10.
Want to have a jumpin' good time and loads of fun?
Yes!
There's nothing puzzling about it. Wheel of Fortune is the #1 game show on television. It's easy to see why. Lots of excitement and a singing host.
Old renegade carves his ear.
Well, not really, but it does have some great family entertainment. So have some fun. Watch the next Wheel of Fortune.
Weeknights and Saturdays on WALA Fox 10.
This is what it looks like in downtown Mobile on Government Street. As you look over to the Government Plaza building, you can see lots of rain is falling as night falls in downtown Mobile as we await Hurricane Danny. Okay, here's the latest that we have for you. Of course, there's that hurricane warning in effect from Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way over to Destin, Florida. As John had mentioned just a few minutes ago, the way the storm seems to be heading, we may see the eastern end of that expand a little bit, maybe down toward the Panama City area, for example, and it may move away from the Grand Isle area since the storm has apparently passed the Louisiana coast and seems to be heading either for the Baldwin County coast or perhaps the Florida Panhandle. There's the location of Danny right now, 29.9 north, 88.3 west. That's about 40 miles south of Mobile or about 10 miles south of Dauphin Island. It's moving. You remember it had been stationary for much of the day. It's now moving toward the east. This is what it looks like in downtown Mobile on Government Street. As you look over to the Government Plaza building, you can see lots of rain is falling as night falls in downtown Mobile as we await Hurricane Danny. Okay, here's the latest that we have for you. Of course, there's that hurricane warning in effect from Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way over to Destin, Florida. As John had mentioned just a few minutes ago, the way the storm seems to be heading, we may see the eastern end of that expand a little bit, maybe down toward the Panama City area, for example, and it may move away from the Grand Isle area since the storm has apparently passed the Louisiana coast and seems to be heading either for the Baldwin County coast or perhaps the Florida Panhandle. There's the location of Danny right now, 29.9 north, 88.3 west. That's about 40 miles south of Mobile or about 10 miles south of Dauphin Island. It's moving. You remember it had been stationary for much of the day. It's now moving toward the east, northeast. That's important, at 6 miles an hour. Winds are still at 75 miles an hour, pretty much what they have been since 2 o'clock this morning. And there you see some of the feeder bands. You can see the eye almost directly south of Mobile right now. And since the storm is apparently moving east-northeast, it appears that the storm may not pass directly over Dauphin Island as had first been forecast. Of course, that's just the way a storm is. It decides it's going to go wherever it wants to go. And it may be heading more toward, as I said, Baldwin County or perhaps Escambia County, Alabama, Okaloosa County, Florida, for example. So you can see some of the severe thunderstorms in those feeder bands wrapping around the eye, for example. And now let's hear from Captain Conrad Garrity from the Alabama Port Fire Department. Captain, what's happening there?
Well, it's windy down here, and we get rain like squalls at times, but it's bearable.
Have you had any problems in Alabama Port?
Not any reported problems. We have a lady that is about going to give birth to a baby, maybe tonight, but 14 members of our fire department have stayed in the area. That's our EMS and firefighters. And we're here to take care of anybody that needs help.
Okay, do you have a volunteer department there, or are you on call?
We're volunteer, strictly volunteer.
Mm-hmm. So luckily you have not had a very busy night from the way it sounds.
No, we haven't. Everybody's staying at home.
What about the roads in the area, for example? Have any of them flooded for?
Not that I know of. There's been no reports of flooded roads, and very little traffic on the roads. Like I say, people are staying at home.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a wind gauge there at the fire department? By any
No,
chance?
sir. We do not have a wind gauge.
Okay. Do you have any idea of just how how fast the wind has been going?
I would estimate 50, 55 mile an hour.
So you think it would be be too much to be able to stand up straight outside, for example?
No, I don't have any problem standing up.
Mm-hmm. But it's not something you want to be out in anyway.
No, not really.
Okay.
I feel sorry for those deputies that are at the roadblock at 188 and 193. They were out in it.
All right, Captain Garrity, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Calling from Alabama Port Fire Department. Thank you. Some tips on storm preparedness, of course. Have your disaster supply kit. You should have that ready already. You should know the evacuation routes. Pretty much head north away from the storm. Of course, we're under a warning right now, a hurricane warning all up and down the coast until the storm actually hits land. You should have prepared your home by this time, boarding it up, taping up your windows. Won't prevent them from breaking, but it will keep them from shattering and perhaps flying through the air. Drive carefully, if at all. Probably the best idea is just to stay home and just keep in contact briefly with your family and friends, not to overload the phone system, because they do need to keep the phone lines open in case of emergency. Be sure to have some canned goods on hand, a can opener, one you don't have to depend on electricity for. Make sure you have some bottled water. That's pretty easy to find, some bread, make some simple sandwiches. And just so you don't waste water trying to wash stuff, have some paper products and some plastic utensils. That'll help you get through the storm. Also, non-perishable items. I remember eating a lot of those after Hurricane Frederick. Didn't particularly like them, but we had no choice at the time. Lots of batteries as well for your flashlights and for your radio, or if you have one of those small portable television sets so you can watch us as well. Here's some information, some phone numbers you can call if you're in Choctaw County or Clark County or Washington County if you need information about shelters. There are some shelters open if you want to call in those areas. You see the numbers on your screen. Choctaw 459-2628 or 459-2166. In Clark County 275-3773. In Washington County, a couple of numbers for you, 847-2202 or 847-2775. Those are your numbers for shelter information in Choctaw, Clark, and Washington counties. And John Ed Thompson joins us, as he has throughout the day, with the latest on the storm. It appears to be heading more away from Dauphin Island.
It's making more of an easterly turn, and I was looking at the radar image just a few minutes ago, and it has definitely made a wobble off to the east. Now, I'm working on that right now. I hope to have a brand new picture for you for that, but there's the location, 29.9 degrees north, 29.9 degrees north, and the longitude, 88.3 degrees west with 75-mile-per-hour winds. As you know, this afternoon we went under a tornado watch for the area, and that watch was issued in the afternoon and said that will be in effect until 9 p.m. tonight. We're not at 9 p.m. yet, but they have already decided on how this is going to go. They're going to take that watch and extend it out until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and they're going to extend it into most of the counties of the Panhandle of Florida. So Panhandles of Florida, the Panhandle counties, keep in mind all along from here to Destin, probably even further east than Destin, we're going to keep the hurricane warning in effect, and the tornado watch is being extended into the Panhandle of Florida, and it's not over at 9 p.m. It's going to be pushed all the way till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
That gives you a pretty good indication how the National Weather Service feels this storm is going to go. It's going to be heading more toward the Florida Panhandle.
More to the east, and it's taking a longer time to get on shore. They always put a little bit of pad time on it. I mean, if they think that something's going to end at 8, they may say 9. So they think, it looks like now, they think all might be over by, say, 8 or so tomorrow morning. Now, I'm putting that out there, but that's what they're saying now. Till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, the tornado watch is in effect, and the hurricane warning will remain in effect all along the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and northwest Florida coastline.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John Ed. Well, let's hear. We've been hearing from our own James Gordon down on Dauphin Island for pretty much all day now. But now a switch. We're going to hear from our photographer instead. Barry Bain is going to be in front of the camera. There he is, and James Gordon is behind the camera. Barry, is this your debut on television?
This is my debut, Bob.
All right.
What a debut it is.
You're doing a great job. What's it like?
My FE.
There you go. You got to make sure you can hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now, Bob.
Okay. What's it like from that perspective? Usually you're taking the pictures. You're not on camera.
Well, trying to keep the equipment dry has been a challenge. Taking the camera apart and trying to dry it out by the heater in the car, that's been a challenge, too. But right now, it looks like the winds are really picking up. The surf is really breaking here right now. The piers are just about covered up with water. And the only power we see on the island right now is the lights on the Coast Guard base.
Okay, it looks like you pretty much gave up the idea of keeping your shirt dry. Is that right?
Yeah, why? Why even try?
That's right. Have you run across anybody else on the island, or are you pretty much by yourselves there?
We've ran across a few Dauphin Island fire and rescue people, and a few people who are riding the storm out here, but most everybody is bunkered down in their homes.
Now, can you hear the waves from where you are?
We can see some waves. I've turned the live truck around a little bit, and we can see some of the waves. They're crashing over the little seawall out here. They're putting about a 10-foot spray up right now, so the storm is very, very close at hand.
So are you still near Fort Gaines?
Barry, are you still near Fort Gaines?
Yeah, and we're still right here outside Fort Gaines right now, but we can't even see the fort. The wind and rain are coming down so hard right now.
Okay, so you're still in the area of the Dauphin Island Sea Lab, Fort Gaines, on the eastern end of the island.
That is correct.
Okay, well, try to stay safe and try to stay dry.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Okay, thanks, Barry. We'll be back with more after this. You're watching Fox 10's coverage of Hurricane Danny. I'm Bob Grip, back again with an update. There's a landfall threat increasing for coastal Alabama and the Florida Panhandle tonight as Danny has started to turn toward the east-northeast at about 6 miles an hour. A National Weather Service believes that a turn back toward the northeast is expected during the next 6 to 12 hours, and of course we'll keep you updated as the storm progresses toward the coast. Andy Anderson joins us now on the phone from Irvington. Andy, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, pretty good.
What's the weather like in Irvington?
We got some pretty good wind conditions out here.
Mm-hmm. What about rain?
It's about a steady 10 to 15 miles per hour, and about anywhere from 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts.
Do you have any trees on your property?
Lots of them.
What are they doing?
Leaning very bad.
Do you have pecan trees, pine trees? What kind?
Pecan trees, pine trees, oak trees.
Mm-hmm. Are you worried about the pecans especially?
Oh, no. They're small enough. They're limber. They can hold up to it. But the pine trees are really leaning.
Mm-hmm. Are you there by yourself? You have a family with you?
I'm here with my family.
Mm-hmm. And you feel good enough about staying where you are then?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Any thought of heading maybe to Theodore High School for the shelter, for example?
No. We've been through 2 of them so far, ever since we lived here. And we've held up pretty good, so we're just going to stay right here.
All right. We appreciate that, Andy. Andy Anderson reporting from Irvington for us. Thank you very much. Got a note that International Paper in Bay Minette, the plant general manager or plant manager could try to give us a call to need to know if the workers should show up at International Paper in Bay Minette. So we've got that request out to the plant general manager or the plant manager. If they could give us a call at this number at 434-1097, we'll try to relay some information to some of the workers who need to know what they need to do with the hurricane right out there. Again, and if you're in the middle of the storm and want to tell us what it's like in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm, give us a call at 434-1097. Again, the position of the storm at, okay, here's a new local statement that at 8 o'clock Central Time, about 40 minutes ago, the center was at 29.9 north and 88.3 west. That was 30 miles south of Dauphin Island, we're told. Danny has taken a more easterly movement, and now the National Weather Service says poses an increased threat to Baldwin County in Alabama and to Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties in the Florida Panhandle. A slight increase in intensity is also possible over the next several hours. Again, that's from the National Weather Service. The storm tides will remain about 3 feet in and near Mobile Bay, but will be 4 to 5 feet above normal to the east of Danny's center. The winds around 45 miles an hour are being recorded from Dauphin Island eastward through coastal Baldwin County at the present time, and they'll gradually spread eastward into the Florida Panhandle over the next couple of hours. Hurricane force winds can be expected in the vicinity of Danny's eye. Now, we're told that the squalls will continue moving across the Alabama and northwest Florida coastal waters and will spread over the interior counties tonight. We've had lots of evidence of the squalls. People all over the Gulf Coast have said, well, it's been raining and windy, and all of a sudden it stops and then it starts again. Those are the squalls coming in and out. Parts of southwestern Alabama and northwest Florida on the east side of Danny could easily see rainfall totals of 5 to 10 inches tonight, with isolated totals of 10 to 20 inches possible by midday on Saturday. Now, just in case your power goes out and you want to keep in contact with what's going on in the storm, you can tune in to any of our emergency news service radio stations who are also carrying our audio, so you can stay in touch with us in case your electricity goes out. WABB in Mobile, WBLX in Mobile as well, The Wave, 106.5, Arrow, 100.7, WCOA AM in Pensacola, WLVV AM 1410, WDLT 98.3, and WMFC, that's in Monroeville on the AM and the FM side. Those are some of the stations on the emergency news service that we have. There's a tornado watch and a flash flood watch in effect for southeastern Mississippi, as well as southwestern Alabama and the western Florida Panhandle. And we're expecting another update in perhaps another hour or so. But in the meantime, Danny has been taking that turn more and more toward the east and is posing more of a threat to Baldwin County now and to Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties. And as we said, a slight increase in intensity is also possible over the next several hours because the water out in the Gulf is still pretty warm, about maybe 82, 83 degrees. And that's really your fuel behind Danny. As you can see, it's traveling toward the east, northeast at 6 miles an hour so far, still with 75-mile-an-hour winds. And the hurricane warning remains in effect for the central Gulf Coast from Grand Isle, Louisiana, east all the way to Destin, although if the storm keeps moving in the direction it's going, that may go beyond Destin, but we'll have to see what the National Weather Service does. We're just reporting that to you. So again, especially the folks in Baldwin County and the Panhandle of Florida can expect an awful lot of rain. As you can see, there's an awful lot of rain on the radar there, some of those intense storms right around the eye, especially. You can see the eye, the small dark blue area right in the middle of the storm there. And you can see how the strong thunderstorms are curling around the eye in those feeder bands as it moves almost parallel at this point to the coastline, dumping lots and lots of rain because it's traveling so slowly. We'll have more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny here on Fox 10 coming up in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our coverage of Hurricane Danny as it sits off the Alabama coast, apparently heading maybe toward Baldwin County, maybe toward the Florida Panhandle. We'll just have to wait and see as the hours go by into the night. Let's talk now with Eugene Harper, who joins us from Elsinore on the phone. Eugene, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Bob.
What's the weather like?
It's getting a little worse than it was about an hour ago. The winds picked up about a steady 20 mile an hour. Every now and again, we got some 30-mile-an-hour gusts. Rain's coming down pretty good. And like everyone pretty much keeps saying, the rain comes in spurts. It'll pour every now and again, and then it lets up.
Now, were you here through, say, Erin and Opal?
No, this is, we just moved here in March, so this is our first experience on the hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. Where did you move from?
Chicago.
Do you think you'd stick around for another hurricane?
Oh, yeah. Never leaving.
Okay. All right. Never leaving. You feel pretty good about where you are right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's for right now, it don't seem too bad. I'm standing outside, and like one of the previous callers said, it's just like a summer thunderstorm.
Is the ground pretty much soaked where you are?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty saturated.
Mm-hmm. Any standing water anyplace?
The road next to my house, which is a dirt road, it's got about, I'd say about 6 inches of water sitting in it.
So nobody's going to be going down that one for at least tonight?
No.
All right. Eugene Harper from Elsinore, thank you very much for calling us.
Thank you, Bob.
We understand that Alabama Power has reported that Dauphin Island is without electrical power. You heard James Gordon talk about that a few minutes ago. And Alabama Power says electrical power may not be restored to Dauphin Island until after the storm passes. So that's the latest on the conditions on Dauphin Island. Carol Hunter is on Government Street with more news about power outages in the area. Carol?
Well, Bob, you're right. I just got off the phone with some of the Alabama Power officials, and they say they won't be back out to Dauphin Island until the storm passes. Obviously, the bridge is closed. They can't get to Dauphin Island. But there is another major power outage. They're estimating that Dauphin Island, they probably serve about 1,500 customers. Well, out in the Tillman's Corner area, we have about 2,300 customers in the dark right now. Obviously, they're not able to watch us on television, but hopefully many of them know that we are simulcast on many of the radio stations, so they can still get the updates and tune in and keep abreast of what's going on with the storm. Apparently, a limb has fallen on a line in the 3 Notch Road area, shutting out power to those 2,300 folks. A crew is on the scene right now, and as long as the weather doesn't get worse, they should have power restored to those folks fairly soon. Now, we're not sure exactly what fairly soon means, but they say probably within the next couple of hours or so, if the weather doesn't get worse. Now, we'll take this opportunity to remind everyone out there that if a power line is down, stay away. You need to keep your children away, even pets away. You always need to assume that every power line is live and that they are very dangerous. If the lines are down, if you see a line down anywhere, all you need to do is call this 800 number. It's 1-800-888-2726, 1-800-888-2726 to report any power failures. Now, besides Dauphin Island and Tillman's Corner, those are the only 2 areas that are having problems right now. And if there are any changes in that, of course, we'll let you know. Folks can call us, and we can double check on things for them, hopefully let them know when they might get power back. But a crew or crews are on the scene in the Tillman's Corner area and are working as quickly as they can to get you folks back online.
Okay, Carol, looks like there's a little bit of traffic flowing behind you. I guess the Bankhead Tunnel is still open?
Bankhead Tunnel is still open. Again, flashing lights, use caution when you go through there. Interestingly, as we've been out here throughout the night, has been a steady rain, as you've been able to see. Water is beginning to collect on the roads, though. I suspect that many low-lying areas, as our caller just mentioned, the ground is saturated. And so in some roads that have sort of chronic problems, we may begin to see that flooding. This is not the massive deluges that we have seen recently, but when you have rain like this go on for hour after hour after hour, those conditions can be duplicated. So people need to really be careful as they approach any roads that are in low-lying areas.
That's right. We've seen the danger of flash flooding in the Mobile area just within the past couple of months, and it really turned out to be very, very tragic. So we want to make sure that people know that if they come to an area, an underpass, or it may look submerged, they can't see the road, just turn around and do something else. Don't try to drive through the water, correct?
Absolutely. It just isn't worth it. There are, as we say, a lot of alternative routes still in the Mobile area. We haven't had significant road closings, and I'm sure if some of those roads do become impassable, we'll get that word out. But just use caution, as we've been saying all day. There generally isn't any reason to be out on the road now unless you absolutely have to be. And if you have to be, just use some common sense. We just heard that power is back on in the Schillingers Road area, so that's good news for you folks out there. And hopefully, if it isn't back in the entire Tillman's Corner area, it will be fairly soon.
Okay, thank you, Carol Hunter, reporting live from Government Street with word on power outages. Now let's check in one more time with John Ed Thompson as the storm apparently is taking a more easterly course. John Ed?
That's right, Bob. You talked about the roadways that might be damaged. If you've got a little road that you travel on every morning, you've noticed a little small pothole. Well, guess what? That pothole is probably washed out a little deeper tonight because of all the rainfall washing across the roadways. A small hole is probably a larger hole right now, so as you would normally have just bumped your right front wheel down in it, you may have an alignment job or even worse due to that today. We've got that warning in effect still all the way from Grand Isle, excluding New Orleans, on to Destin, Florida, and they do expect to extend that further on to the east tonight. We're talking about the hurricane warning. A tornado watch has been extended into the panhandle of Florida. That's because they think the effects of the storm are going to be felt more east of Mobile now than from Mobile west, so they're extending that watch and warned area on off to the east. The flash flood watch, of course, in effect because of all the rainfall that has already come down and will continue to come down. As you know, throughout the daytime, the storm has been well off to the west of us. It's been sitting over here, over toward Louisiana. Well, that storm has continued tracking on off to the north, and it's made a wobble a little bit to the east, and that was as it was approaching the south part of Dauphin Island. It was sitting just about 15 to 25 miles south of Dauphin Island when it made a wobble a little bit off to the east. Now, we had the northerly coordinate there of the latitude at 29.9 degrees north, and we had the west to east coordinates of longitude of 88 at that time 8 degrees, and it has decreased down to 3, meaning that the storm has moved a little further east than it was, and it's now situated down here, actually a little further off to the east than I have it on the screen. It's actually a little further down south of Mobile and south of Dauphin Island. It's continuing to track a little bit more east than it is off to the north. Now, the course generally is east-northeast at 6 miles per hour, and the location last check was 40 miles south of Mobile with winds of 75 miles per hour. We've got a couple of pictures to show you as far as the radar image is concerned, and you can see that all the activity is from Biloxi to Mobile to Pensacola and on into the panhandle of Florida. You can see the swirl of clouds and rainfall just wrapping around the storm that was situated right there south of Mobile. Let's go ahead and bring up a brand new image and show you what it looks like right now. As you look at the brand new image, I'll back out so you can take a look at that area down in the bottom part of your screen that shows some blue. In other words, looking through the rainfall and looking down into the Gulf of Mexico, that basically is the eye of the storm. And as it was close to land a little earlier, looking at it with radar out of Mobile, the National Weather Service says that the center of the storm, the eye, was about 8 nautical miles across. In other words, the center of the storm was about 8 nautical miles across, and as you see, we're still getting those strong wraparound winds and rain coming up from the Gulf, rolling into the panhandle of Florida, rolling up across into Baldwin County. The motion of the wind is up out of the southeast in that part, and it's off the northeast and pushing down toward the Mississippi coast over here, and then wrapping around south of Dauphin Island. So the people on Dauphin Island are basically getting a sweep of wind from the east to the west. So that's what they're feeling down there with James Gordon and Barry Bain as they ride out the storm tonight south of Mobile on a barrier island named Dauphin Island, Grand Island. How about that? Or Grand Isle, Louisiana, is where the warning starts from the west and continues on to Destin, Florida. Let's see what we have. Just a big picture of what's been going on with cloud cover now running all the way from Baton Rouge on north to Montgomery in Alabama. A big storm in the Gulf of Mexico named Danny. And we'll keep our eyes on Danny because Danny does not look like it wants to come ashore right now. So we're probably going to be with you a lot more hours than we originally thought. Bob?
And we're so excited about that, aren't we, John? Thank you very much. Well, we talked about James Gordon and Barry Bain being on Dauphin Island, and they're there for a very good reason to cover the storm, and of course because they can't get out. This is video of them closing the Dauphin Island Bridge. Nobody is allowed onto the island or off the island at this point. It just got a little bit too dangerous to try to make that span across, so the police have closed the bridge. So if you're on Dauphin Island now, you're going to be there for a little while, at least until the storm passes. And if you need to get on Dauphin Island, you're going to have to wait probably until tomorrow to make sure. As it was, they were limiting access to Dauphin Island earlier today, wanting to make sure, checking driver's licenses, for example, to make sure that nobody was on the island who really didn't have to be there. And as we mentioned, James is down there tonight and will ride out the storm as well. Bill Story joins us now. He's the Assistant Fire Chief from Grand Bay. Bill, how are you going through the storm so far?
Oh, we're going through it pretty good. We get some stiff breezes down here. We made a survey just before the darkness, and we had up until that time we had a few roads that was closed due to high water, and the water had receded. But right now
we're getting a light rain. Traffic out on the road appears to be real light. I think everyone's taking your warning seriously. I think we haven't had anything yet, thank goodness.
Okay, it looked for a while that you might be right in the thick of things, but it looks like you may be spared some of the worst of the storm.
Well, in our line of work, that doesn't hurt our feelings one bit.
I'll bet it doesn't. Have you had any unusual problems because of the storm? Anybody call in with any particular problems?
No, not really. Everything's been real quiet down here. The people have boarded up. They're staying in their homes. Like I said, the traffic's real light. I think the people are doing an excellent job. They're taking this thing seriously.
And you think nobody has really taken the storm too lightly? You can't fool around with a storm like this, even if it is a minimal hurricane.
Exactly. Well, this thing was, it traveled so close to shore that no one really knew where it was going to come and when it was going to make any turns. So I think down in this area, everyone did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Any idea about street flooding, dirt roads washed out, anything like that?
Well, like I say, just before darkness, I made a tour on several of the roads that we would think that would have washed out. Earlier in the afternoon, we had some high water and they were over the roadways, but that had receded just before darkness. As a matter of fact, we even had the sun to break through the clouds down here. It was a beautiful sunset.
We've had reports of double rainbows and everything, so it's been a night of really strange weather.
Yeah, let's hope it stays strange if it continues like it is.
That's true. Thank you. Bill Story from the Grand Bay Fire Department, the Assistant Fire Chief. Thank you, Bill.
All right.
And we have somebody